Can you unmute?
I started the
Okay.
meeting and it's
Great.
recording now.
Wonderful.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. We're experiencing some technical difficulties with Teams, but can you give us just a thumbs up if you can see the presentation with the capybaras? Nice. Okay. So they can see the slides. We just can't see any of their videos, and I believe they aren't able to see our videos as well. Is that correct? Can you give me a thumbs up if you cannot see any of our cameras? Okay, so at least one person give a thumbs up. They can't see any camera. So all they can see is the slideshow and they cannot see our video feeds. So I think in the in concerns for the time and that you're already here.
Tony, I think that people can see us. I think that we're just trying to get our alumni, Chloe and Brooklyn, here with us to be able to share their cameras so you can
I
see
see the
them as
chat.
well. But I see Donna saying she can see us, so that's good at least.
Good. Thanks, Dawn, for letting us know. Okay. I think we should get started and just go with what we have. And I'm sorry that our two featured alumni speakers will not be able to be seen on the video. This is something that's happening on the back end with Teams, and we will continue to work on that to figure that out. So thank you all for coming today. I am Tony Nelson. I work on the institutional relations team at CET, and I've been with them for just about 2.5 years. And I used to work at Kalamazoo College before this, and I worked with CET. So it's nice to have everybody here. I am recording this session so that folks that registered but weren't able to attend synchronously can watch it back tomorrow or after that. So I first want to give sort of an idea of what we're going to be doing today. We're going to do some brief introductions of our speakers as well as of the CET Colombia program. Then we have some prompts that we're going to ask two of our alumni to speak on what their experiences were on the program. And then at the end, we'll have some Q&A. As we go through the session, if you have any questions that pop up, please put them in the chat, but know that we're going to try to answer them at the most appropriate time. So if it might make sense for us to wait till the Q&A at the end to answer those that are listed in the chat, or we might decide to take them if they're very timely to be discussed based on what we're talking with our alumni about. So thank you so much for being here. And I want to introduce our presenters just by name, and then they'll introduce themselves. First of all, I want to welcome Centoya McCall. She is the program manager for our Latin American programs and a colleague of mine. And she will be doing the main facilitation of the question and answers with Brooklyn and Chloe, who are both alumni of our CET Colombia program from different semesters from the past year. And they will be presenting on some of their perspectives related to the prompts that we give them. So I will now turn it over to Centoya and to our two alumni to introduce themselves.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate it. Chloe and Brooklyn, would you like to share a little bit about yourself? And then I'll introduce myself and we can get started.
Sure, no worries. Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe. I promise I'm a real face because there I am. I did the CET Cali program last year now in the spring of 25. I am a senior at the George Washington University located in Washington, D.C., studying international affairs, concentrating in the region of Latin America, and I have a minor in Africana Studies. I really, really enjoyed my time during the Cali program. I've made some long-lasting memories, and I'm excited to talk about it today.
And hello, everyone. My name is Brooklyn Tucker. I am a graduating senior studying international business with a Latin American concentration Spanish minor at Howard University in Washington, D.C., so very close to Chloe. And I did my study abroad during last year, but during the fall semester. And I kind of did what nobody does, which is go abroad your senior year. However, I don't regret it all at all. And as Chloe mentioned, I have like friends from the program and also in Colombia that I still talk to this day and even have plans of returning. So yes.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Centoya McCall, and I am the programs manager for our Latin American portfolio or Latin America portfolio, which includes our programs in Colombia and in Brazil. I began working for CET on site in Colombia back in 2019 as the resident director. And now I primarily serve as a liaison between our on-site teams and DC. And I support our director of Latin America program, our Latin America programs, Hector Cruz Feliciano. And we collaborate across departments. So I am truly excited to be here today to talk to you all about CET Colombia. I think it's a special experience. I would like to thank Chloe and Brooklyn again for being here and Tony for organizing this event. And Brooklyn, thank you for sharing that you went abroad as a senior. I think that is so important because many people are scared to do that. So I'm excited to get into that as well. But yes, thank you all for being here and let's get started. So before I talk a little bit about Colombia, I wanted to just give a little context. CET Academic Programs, as you might already know, is a study abroad provider based in Washington, D.C., and we offer 13 programs in 11 locations. But today we are here to talk about Colombia. So why Colombia? If you are interested in one of Latin America's most culturally rich and diverse cities, if you would like to improve your Spanish, this is a great option, especially because it's less touristy than other cities. This is also the home of the second largest city, Latin America city of Afro descendants. And it is rich in Afro-Colombian heritage and culture, right? And so if you're interested in learning about those experiences, this would be a great place. It's beautifully located in the Andes Mountain region, and there are countless opportunities to do so many things to do in Cali. You will learn probably about the history of salsa, all the way to the music festivals and the art. And so there's just many things to do, and there are several top universities in Cali, so students are constantly engaging with local college students in Cali. And so essentially this is the perfect location if you didn't get anything else. Could you move on to the next slide? This program introduces students to themes of race, ethnicity, and identity through an Afro-Colombian lens. All students take a core course centered on this theme to ground their semester, along with additional electives in Spanish, political science, anthropology, sociology, geography, and criminal justice. Students may be beginners in Spanish or fluent speakers, and you can choose how many courses you want to take in Spanish or even direct enroll in our courses or in courses at WOW, our host institution. The entire semester revolves around the program theme. And as I said, it fully immerses students in the Colombian culture. You live with a local Colombian roommate, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And there's a travel seminar too, which is the highlight of our semester, I would say. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But our travel seminar and living with the local roommates puts everything that students learn in the classroom into a real world context. And so we definitely will be talking a little bit more about that today. Next slide. Here is a basic breakdown of the curriculum. As you can see, your Spanish level will determine which courses you take. For more details about our course option, please visit our website, because there we have a list of description, we have the syllabi, but this is just so you can quickly see a breakdown and just so you can understand that what your courses will depend on your Spanish language level. Next slide. These electives are exclusively for CET students, and they are taught in either English or Spanish. You would take 2 or 3 depending on your credit requirements. If you have an advanced level of Spanish, you may enroll in direct enrollment at WOW, as I mentioned. If you do not, you will take a course taught exclusively for CET students in English at WOW, and that's called History of Armed Conflict in Colombia. And so you can go on our website and get information about each of the courses listed here. Next slide. Starting next fall, CET Columbia will transition to shared apartment housing. And this is known as BOHO. So this is something new that we're doing. And in Cali, the complex is okay, of course, located in Cali, but students will live in a 4-bedroom or an 8-bedroom apartment. And the bedrooms they're single rooms, right? And so this is different than what students are experiencing or have experienced in the past in the residential apartments. But students will still live with our local roommates, and they'll be living with students, local Colombian students, which I think is a plus. The apartments are fully equipped. Amenities include a barbecue area, a study room, a tech room, a gym, a game room, a pool area, so many things. And so I'm really excited for students to experience this housing complex. As I mentioned, CET Columbia roommates they will be living with, and those are members of our host universities like Afro student organizations, and they provide students with meaningful opportunities for cultural exchange. And through our local roommate program, students really get a chance to explore Cali through the eyes of the perspectives of their peers. And if you have any more questions about the new housing, please visit our website because we put up a special feature about that, or we send down an email as well. And so additional excursions and activities are planned weekly. I won't spend too much time talking about it because we only planned for a little intro, but please visit our website. But these include trips to like local nature reserves. We visit historical landmarks, cities nearby. There's a lot of cultural events and festivals. There's the largest Afro-Colombian music festival from the Pacific Coast that happens in the fall. So it's a lot of exciting opportunities for students to explore with their local roommates. Next slide. The travel seminar, as I said, is a highlight. Students will go to Palenque in Bolivar. It's near Cartagena. And this is originally founded as a settlement of escaped enslaved Africans and now an autonomously governed community. Students will also go to Cartagena, and that's one of the city's main tourist centers and a former major port of entry for the transatlantic slave trade, right? And so there, students will learn about the city's history and the present day realities of Afro-Colombians in an urban context, because Cali is situated towards the Pacific context, right? And so this is a little different. They get a chance to explore Blackness in a different context. And they learn about how Afro-Colombians navigate the impacts of tourism, right? The semester also includes drumming workshops and participation in local fishing practices and traditions. They visit a village called La Boquilla, which all are really interesting perspectives that students will learn because, like I said, it focuses on a different experience of Blackness in Colombia. Next slide. These are all the things that are included. I'll give you 1 second to take a look. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to Tony and he will answer all the questions that you have about what's included, but I won't go into details about it for the sake of time. Okay, CET offers a variety of additional funding opportunities to help offset the cost of studying abroad. Students can apply for these scholarships at the same time that they apply to the program directly through our website. CET also partners with Fund for Education Abroad to provide additional scholarship opportunities, and we encourage students to visit our website for more information. Finally, I just want to mention to please be sure to stay on top of application deadlines, and also we have our own deadlines, right? But your home institution may have their own deadlines, right? And so you just want to make sure you're on top of both requirements or just keep those requirements in mind. And now let's get into why we are really here. And that is to talk to our amazing alumni panel.
Hey, Centoya, hold on 1 second.
Yes.
I'm going to do something and see if I can get Brooklyn and Chloe on camera because that will
Okay.
make this much more interesting. Hold on 1 second. Brooklyn, do you now have an option to share your camera?
No, but I can reload real quick.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. I just know it'll be better if we can see them, but if not, you'll hear their stories. being very weird for her.
Yeah, sorry. It still says the same thing.
Sorry, everybody. We tried. I'll let you all talk now. Thanks, Centoya.
Thank you for trying. I'm excited we still get to hear your amazing stories. So the first question I have for you is, how did your racial, gendered, sexual, or cultural identities impact your experience in Cali? And how did being in Colombia shape your understanding of those identities? And did you encounter moments where others' perspectives or perceptions of you conflicted with your own identity? And how did you navigate that? Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first. Um, I think this is it encompasses truly what you will get out of this Columbia experience is everything within this like question, because everything from my racial and cultural identity was completely flipped on its head after leaving from Colombia. And one of the biggest things for me was one realizing how much privilege I had as being an American and how that privilege comes like it's like and how that privilege comes and how I need to carry myself as well in order realizing I do have that privilege because this is just in my like in my opinion, if you do have a certain level of privilege, you could also make unknowingly put yourself in a position. I wouldn't necessarily to be the oppressor, but to kind of be in the bad guys in some sense. And the reason why I say that is because while we were there was multiple times where we got away scotch free on stuff that we were doing because we were an American, that our Afro Colombian roommates didn't have the same privilege. Or we would go to certain clubs and we could get in because we were American and not our friends. And there was even this one time where I was trying to get into an Uber and he thought I was Afro Latino for a second. For first, I was like, at first it was a compliment. I was like, ooh, he thought I was Afro Latina, but he thought I was Afro Latina at first and was like weirded out and didn't want me to get into the Uber until I started speaking. He was like, oh, you're American? Oh, you're good. Sorry, I thought you were Latino. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody, but more just saying how like eye-opening and truly amazing this experience was just by actively being in a sense where your race, how you identify yourself as your race and your identity is flipped. Like the order that we have it here in the United States is usually we're Black, I'll identify as like Black, and then a woman, then maybe straight, then Christian, and then being American is like all the way at the bottom if you were to ask me what my identity was. But there it was completely opposite. I was an American first. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And then even within the classes that we took, they really pushed you to think outside of the box and really pushed you to like kind of ask more questions on what your identity mean and also exploring other identities. And just to quickly add on, for me, it was really weird for them, like my friends to say, oh, like that Blanco over there, like that white person. And I'm looking, I'm like, what? They're like Latino, they're Hispanic, like what white people are here? But then again, that's like another thing there. Like what I may have considered is just like, oh, he's just Hispanic, he's Latino. Is their version of like, oh no, he's white, like still Colombian white, but still in that sense. So honestly, everything was flipped on his head and I loved it. And I came out a whole different person.
Yeah, and honestly, I have a similar story to Brooklyn. One being that last portion that she touched on, which is really being able to challenge how race is socially constructed in the US versus Latin America. As already being a person who is Black and understanding that we are, I think it's about like 13% of the population of the United States, we already have a pretty concentrated idea as to what Blackness is and how it presents and shows up in every day. And when, even with the understanding of the dynamics that Latin America as a region has around the topic of race in accordance to its own historical background, I knew automatically that what I maybe grew up and saw Blackness to be is going to look different in this other region. But it was really awesome to have what that kind of in-person experience looked like and in-person interactions looked like. Being able to see that, someone who doesn't necessarily look like me, but has similar features, and you can see the lineage there, but maybe they wouldn't be considered Black in the United States. Being able to grapple with that and how that affects both of our experiences was really interesting and something we often challenged in the classroom as well. And I think also on to the point that Brooklyn had mentioned, I think being in Cali opened my eyes to the intersection between my Blackness and my nationality, being a citizen in the United States. And, as Black people, particularly African Americans, I think Brooklyn has mentioned this a little bit. We sit in a complex pocket in the United States where you are an oppressed group that faces systematic marginalization, but is still that very system that we are oppressed by that influences how we view and obtain power and success. So when we go to places in the global South in general, but in this case, Cali, um, oftentimes to seek refuge from the very real violent material experience in the US that we may experience on vacation to kind of get away. We inherently carry these influences with us that contribute to the marginalization of other communities. And being able to see this in real life was something that I really appreciated. I mean, these influences can be anything from like the dollar to peso conversion, the passport power, the esteem that we were given, etc. And I think the most prominent way this was seen was when we were in Cartagena, specifically El Centro Histórico de Cartagena, where we were surrounded by a bunch of other Black folks vacationing and enjoying, their time, but also engaging with elements of tourism that we had talked about in classes and things like that. And the tourism that unfortunately, tends to exploit Black folks and other marginalized groups in Colombia. And so we were able to kind of digest how the model used in Black communities in Los Angeles and the methods of gentrification to like homegrown Black folks in New York City is the exact model that is in play within Cali at certain times. But this time we see us as Black Americans contributing, not necessarily spearheading, that's a completely different topic, but contributing to the system, right? So that really changed the way in which I viewed not only my nationality and that type of influence that I inherently bring. It also made me a lot more aware of how to make sure that I'm more intentional about not bringing these influences that are going to negatively affect and oppress these individual groups. And so I think it's been a really great aspect of my journey of elevating my own consciousness. And when you look back at it, it's the same level of teachings that like really awesome Black revolutionaries like, Malcolm X, Assata, LMK, all encourage so that every person, every Black person in the United States and abroad are free. So yeah, that's what I really, really enjoyed.
Ooh, there were so many good things that you all mentioned. Thank you so much for sharing. I think, as you mentioned, not all of us have the opportunity to think about privilege in a way until we go abroad. And so I'm so glad that you all had those opportunities to unpack privilege and nationhood and all of these systems that you all mentioned. So anyway, I won't take up too much time. Okay, second question, thank you, Tony, is how did you navigate a new place, a new language, an unfamiliar experience while maintaining your academic standards? What strategies or best practices helped you succeed academically and linguistically?
Yeah, I can start off with this one. I think I came in with a pretty decent understanding of Spanish. I mean, I speak to my grandparents and other family members in Spanish. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, so Spanish is not necessarily foreign to me. But regardless, I've never had an experience in which like my entire day was encompassed in this different language. And so automatically that is going to challenge the way that my brain is already composed. And so I think some things that really helped me make sure that I maintain academic standards as well as just find joy in the learning process, which can be very frustrating, is one, being very honest with myself. Two, making and efforts to be transparent with my professors, and then three, keeping a personal kind of vocab book. So to start with just being honest with yourself, we all come from some really great universities in which we prioritize being in some of the highest levels of these courses and these subjects. But the reality is you want to go with what you know off in the beginning. So when you take the language practice exam at the beginning, be very honest and let the course that you are placed into in accordance to your performance on the exam be the course that you are confident in sticking to. And with honesty being your compass at this point, you're able to really only progress without having to, kind of cover up in a way. And I think that really, really helped me because we also have a little bit of like, well, no, I know that, and no, I know that, and you sometimes you don't. And that's the best way that you can go into a learning experience. And the professors that are there are really, really awesome in crafting a curriculum and crafting a course that allows you to learn in a very dynamic way with your specific level. And then being transparent with professors about your difficulties. That is something that I also kind of wanted to, that I also prioritized after experiencing some rough patches with one of the courses that I had. I took one of the electives on like the heritage and cultures of Afro descendants, and this was a class completely taught in Spanish. And I did not meet the level of vocabulary specifically with this specific course because these were the first times I'm hearing these words in a different language. And I got to a certain point where I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm just not understanding. So let me have a meeting. And that's when I had a meeting with the professor. And I said, hey, I think one of the big things is when we talk about homework and deliverables for the next class, I don't have an entire understanding of what is being asked just because of maybe my level. Is it possible for us to put out a synopsis at the end of class or in the Canva post to say, hey, reminder, this is what you have to do. That way, not only am I able to make sure that I am trying my best to learn and understand what is being asked of me, but I also have a little bit of a safety net to follow into that allows me to, at the end of the day, produce the material that is needed for the next day. So it's not necessarily asking for a translation, it's just asking for a little bit of support within that same realm, right? That same level. And then lastly, keeping a personal vocabulary book. This is something that a couple of the other members on our team did, and I full on took that idea. It was just amazing. Alex and Yafe both carried this tiny little notebook that fits in your pocket, and they had this tiny little pen or pencil. And any single time that they had conversations with anyone, fellow students, taxi drivers, restaurant workers, anyone else, they would write down like, whoa, what was that word? Wait, like, what's again? Like, can you repeat that, please? And they'd write it down and they created their own little customary dictionary. And so I was like, I definitely need to do that. So ever since I did, I was able to pick up not only words that I knew just in English, but needed that translation, but also like slang and like learning how to speak like, the Colombian way and that way and pick up norms. And when people see you take out a little notebook and write down what they said, they get excited and they want to engage further with you. So those are the three things that I did that I really do think helped me not only maintain a good academic performance, but also enjoy the process of learning.
Yes, no, I love that answer. And it's so funny because I feel like I have the exact opposite response to this question. And my advice, take it or leave it, but actually, I found the really like this is so weird. Don't judge me, guys. But it was like flirting. Like I know that's so crazy to say, but like it was like flirting and texting people. And then like it was like for a minute that like we were like on Tinder practicing Spanish because it was just like you really get like the slang and everything. And then that only lasted like the first couple of months. But then even after that, like that's like very like a funny nuance thing that we did. And then when I tell you, it was like this one guy in our group who did not know a lick of Spanish, but then just from him going out and flirting with people, he came back knowing like he a bunch towards the end of the program. But even outside of just that, what we really did is like we would just like going out and just like forcing yourself to talk to people, even if it's Spanish, even if it's broken, just trying to push yourself through the conversation and realize that English isn't Spanish and Spanish isn't English. So the way that you would say something in English isn't necessarily how you relay that same idea in Spanish, and giving yourself grace when you're talking to find different ways in order to construct that sentence. And I actually do wish, like going back, I did keep that dictionary and write down those words, as that was something that was advised and mentioned to us. But however, for me, like really, it was just like actively like always talking because as Chloe mentioned, I thought I knew Spanish. I took Spanish since the second grade. Like I had my friends were Latina. I was like thinking I was good. But it's completely different when your whole entire world is now in Spanish and you like from just trying to cross the street to ordering coffee, everything in your day is done in Spanish. So then also giving yourself grace, those times where my head really hurt and I was like, I can't do this no more, but really pushing through that and being comfortable in your uncomfortable. Because you're not, there's going to be instances where you will feel uncomfortable, but just know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and there's a purpose in everything. And that's what really, really helped me.
Thank you both for sharing your experiences and giving those tips. We can go on to the next question. Community building, which I think this is important because a lot of students get nervous about, being alone or not having friends or just knowing how to build community in a new place. And so that is why Tony and I thought it would be important to talk about this. So CET programs emphasize shared living as a starting point for community. What was your experience building community in Colombia, and how did you go about forming meaningful connections, whether the roommates, friendships, volunteer experiences? You can, talk about a number of different parts,
Yeah,
but yeah.
I can start this one. I don't know, this is like so random and funny. Actually, like my friend Marlene, I was talking to, I was like, hey, do you know Chloe? And she was like, yes, I love Chloe. That was one of my favorite roomies from the last semester. And I'm saying that just to really show how influential and great the Cali roommates are. Like they're really gonna take you under your wing. Like we went to Marlene, one of the roommates, we went to her mom's house. We were like we went to her birthday party. We was in there cooking with her mom. And like even with the other roommates, like Keller, I joined a soccer team, guys. That's what something I really say. Like in WoW, you can join other sports teams and clubs and after activities. And I joined the soccer team. Best experience of my life. Like I felt like I was a D1 athlete. Like I was really out there and it was so much fun. And they again, I went out with them as well. They had like team events that was really cool. And that way you can build that community outside of just the CET program as well. And then I had a friend in a program who loves ultimate frisbee, and I have nothing to do with frisbee. However, I joined the team, and even though I didn't play the sport, they were so like, if you go, just go to the ultimate team like tryouts. Like I'm not kidding, because after that they will invite us out. We went on hikes. It was like having a personal tour guide. We went on hikes together. We went to the coach's house to like for a barbecue. It was somebody's birthday too. We got invited to somebody else's surprise birthday, and then we had tournaments. Even one of my good friends, Abita, she actually went to one of their tournaments, I think in Bogota or something like that. So it's very like, when I tell you Colombians are the greatest and nicest people ever, like if you go out one day on the boulevard on one Friday, you will meet somebody, and then one thing you know, they're inviting you over to their grandma's house for dinner. So really, I'm saying if you push yourself out that comfort zone just to say hello, hi, my name is, they will do the rest, and it goes up from there. So I love it.
Oh my gosh, Mayerlin is my queen. That is my queen. She is the best. Literally, she's the best. Yeah, that was also my roommate as well. When it comes to the topic of community building, I would definitely say that I heard at the beginning, especially from a lot of administrators and people that were at the university, like wow, when we had our orientation, saying like, do not regret, your this experience. Like go full force, go 100%, go all in. You only have, X amount of time, 5 months, make it worthwhile. And I would say second to that, but I would also kind of provide a caveat. Because me as a me personally, I can get it kind of burnt out if I'm going boom, 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 boom every single day. I'm a type of person where like, yeah, when I pop out, I pop out. But when I'm inside, it's time to charge. Okay, it's time to recharge, time to read my book, time for me to chill, X, Y, and Z. So how can I apply this while still making sure that I'm having a amazing experience abroad, 5 month opportunity? And I told myself that once a week, I was going to commit either one or twice, one opportunity or two to going out there and engaging with community. So if that looked like me going with Mayerlin to her family, and going for a meal and being able to chat it up with her mom, who's amazing, then I would do that. If that's going out to a party with her that she's invited me to, there was multiple different ones that sometimes even the administrators recommend. If you're like, there's this really cool festival happening, you should go there. Or if it meant engaging with the university. The university always had salsa classes for us to take. And so I would go as many times as I could. If that was going to be my once a week activity or twice a week activity, I would engage in that. But then I would also just bring me to Colombia. You don't need to change and become a completely different person. I know that I love poetry. So I went on TikTok and I looked up poetry events, open mic events. And that is where I went to one of actually the volunteer opportunities. The name is leaving me right now, but it is with youth, specifically Black youth in Cali, and they had an entire spoken word that one of our friends performed at. There is a library that is pretty close to us that they have live poetry events. And there's also another library in the San Antonio area as well that also had some live poetry events. So I made sure I went there and I got to meet other poets and other people. I was able to write some pieces in Spanish. So yes, while I definitely encourage you to go as, push yourself out of that box, don't leave yourself in the States. Bring yourself with you in Cali and bring what you love and apply that to the country, because it's not going to be a completely different, it's not going to be available there. I guarantee you it's going to be available there. Utilize social media and extend yourself just a little bit more and create personal goals for yourself to do so.
Thank you all so much. And I want to just say, for those of you that are in attendance, you're welcome to stay. You can check out more information about the program here, but we're going to actually hang out and let you ask questions to the two alumni or to Centoya if you have them.
I wanted to say thank you so much, Chloe and Brooklyn, for sharing these experiences. You touched on so many important topics that I know students will appreciate hearing about.
Thank you for having us. I love any opportunity to talk about my study abroad. Unfortunately, I'm turning into one of those people who are like, can I talk about when I studied abroad in Colombia? So, yes.
Amazing.
Literally. Igual. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thanks so much. Okay, we have a couple of questions. I think Brooklyn already answered one of the questions about like how does the program feel? Are you around mostly Black people? Chloe, do you have a response to that as well before we move on to the other
Yeah.
questions in the chat?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm assuming you maybe are speaking about the dynamics of the program internally. In my cohort and my experience, yes, the majority of us were Black. And so we were able to share that kind of community internally, coming from different schools and from California and Howard, shout out, GW as well, etc. But also consider, yes, while Cali is like the second Blackest community or city in Latin America. Once again, like I said, the idea and the social construction of what race is going to be different than the U.S. That's not something to be like afraid of and being like, okay, so you're saying there's no Black people. No, I'm not saying that. Just saying that you're going to see a variety of different people who are Black, identify as Black, but maybe not what you have seen in our own internal kind of popular culture. But there will, like Brooklyn mentioned, be those opportunities to see all of us in one room, like Noche Prieta that was mentioned. There's another festival called Afro Vice that I've gone to and really enjoyed. So there will definitely be the assistance of administrators and other your peers, like your roommates, that will help you find those kind of Black specific events to be around the culture in the community.
Thank you so much. The next question I see here is from Dawn. Sorry. I think her question is, that our CET electives typically offered both fall and spring. Centoya, can you answer that?
Yeah, so most of them, yes, but it also depends on enrollment numbers. So I don't want to say that every single course is offered fall and spring, most of them for sure, but it also depends on enrollment numbers.
And also, just to quickly add, I know for my cohort, because it seemed like in the fall there's less students, we all had to take the same elective. So, like for us specifically, it was like just the same 3 classes that everyone took because of the enrollment. But it was still, all the classes are amazing, and all the teachers are like activists, so they know exactly what they're talking about. And I think that was something, no matter what elective you take, that you like, it's just unheard of and amazing.
Y'all are just mentioning so many important things that I wish we could get into. Thank you for mentioning that our professors are scholars and activists on the ground. Yes.
And the follow-up question I think is related is sort of Jennifer Thomas Stark has asked like what classes did you actually take, Chloe, in Brooklyn? Can you talk about which ones of the electives? I pulled the slide back up. Did you take any of these 5 classes listed on this slide?
Yes. So yes, I took the first one, Las Culturas, yes, the cultures of Afro descendants in Colombia. I also took a social history of Colombian coffee, and then as well as reclaiming Blackness, social and political movements in Colombia. I would definitely say my favorite one out of these, oh, it's like picking children, low key. I would say the social history of Colombian coffee was absolutely amazing. It was very, very, very interactive in the way where our professor actually had us choose a topic in accordance to the syllabus week by week, and we gave presentations on it. So everyone kind of became their own master of that specific subject. And then we also had an opportunity to go to a coffee farm and learn from a lot of the cafeteros that were in the region and actually be able to like hold, touch, and take back coffee with us. And then, of course, Reclaiming Blackness would be a very close second because that was actually an all Spanish course that I took with an amazing professor. And she actually had us interact with some of the monuments, etc., around Cali. So we went to many different parts all around the city, take pictures, and actually be able to give a presentation on the point of, you know, these monuments, the point of these murals, what the stories that are being told are telling us, et cetera, et cetera.
And for me, what's funny is those classes weren't available when I went. However, the Cultures of African Descendants class, that was our class that was in Spanish. So that was our one class that was in Spanish outside of our Spanish class. And then it kind of turned into like a salsa class, which is really interesting. She like told the story of the culture of Afro descendants through salsa. So that was something, and I have a love for salsa that I did not even think I would have, and just like a deeper appreciation of like how it could tell history. And then the environment, conflicts, and territories. I'm gonna be honest, when at first I was like, this just doesn't seem interesting for me personally. However, that hands down, I think might have been no, is my favorite class because it was with Diego, who Chloe, I don't know, is he the same teacher who did the Colombian coffee?
Yes, and he's
Yeah,
amazing. He's
yes.
amazing. Yeah.
hmm So he's like an actual active, an indigenous activist, and he like a lot of the like articles we were pulling from was like where he wrote and been in the area. So just the way that he was able to talk to and the passion behind it, and he has a memory that's like from no under. Like he remembered all of um our majors from the beginning, and then again we did the same presentation things, but he matched us based off of our major of which section of the class we will be able to relate to the most. And since I was a business major, I kind of went over like the business ethics, and we talked about like the Chiquita brand massacre and all that stuff. So the way that that was all able to come together was just amazing. And then sorry, I know I'm rambling, but the last class, the wow class, I love that class too. And we actually was able to do a podcast that's on YouTube actually right now, because the wow campus is crazy. Like I was like this, yeah, it's just there's not even universities in the United States that I think can compare to how beautiful and how much resources that WOW campus had. So that was amazing as well. And yes, they all did transfer back to my degree. I'm in a process right now. And then with the Spanish class too, I know Chloe mentioned like trust the process, but there was actually a thing where a lot of us, I think because we all didn't take the test seriously, so definitely do that, because that we were all put in the beginner Spanish class, and then we all had to transfer to up a level, but ended up working our purpose like perfectly.
Sorry, I was responding to the question in the chat. Thank you both so much. I think then next was the cohort size. I don't know if you got that while I was responding to the chat. Did you, Cintoya?
I didn't. So I can respond, and I didn't know if we were saying it out loud or responding through writing, but okay. Just I'll just say it since I'm talking right now. But last semester we had 10 students. This semester we have 20, and so we could have anywhere from 10 to 20. The goal is 30. So just so you can get an idea.
Thanks.
It's funny, our cohort was 15, so right in the middle, sweet spot.
Yes. And also to quickly add, the boho apartments are so nice. And it's funny because I had a friend I had a friend who was studying in Cali, but through like goes to Spelman, so it was like a weird direct, not weird, but like a direct enrollment thing that she did, and they went to Assessi. And then once we found out about each other, we hung out, and me and the rest of the Cali roommates and cohort was at her apartment complex all the time. Like you're throwing pool parties and everything, you would have thought we lived there.
I'm so glad you could speak to that. So
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah, but the apartments were nice too. Like it was like you was felt homey. So it's like best of both worlds, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. There's pros to both. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, if anyone has any last minute questions, you can think of them right now. I want to just give a huge thanks to both Chloe and Brooklyn for spending your time with us and educating potentially prospective students and staff at our partner universities who are interested in this amazing program. Santoya, thank you so much for your expertise and your deep knowledge of Colombia and specifically Afro-Colombian struggles in Cali. And yeah, thanks again, everybody, for this wonderful webinar. I'm really sorry the video did not work out. It's something that I will spend even more hours trying to figure out with our IT staff of why this is happening. It's, you got to understand, I'll be hot on this subject for a while because it's really disappointing to miss that nonverbal component of the presentation as well. Any last questions?
I do have also a note. One of our one of my peers that attended this cohort, who attends Pomona College, Tristan, she had basically vlogged her entire experience in Cali. She even put together a CET Columbia student share final reflection video. So I could provide that link in the chat if anyone wants a little bit more of a visual representation of how their experiences was when it comes to the program itself, if that helps anyone.
That's amazing. Yes, please do drop that in the chat. Great. Thanks so much, Chloe. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up. And thank you so much again. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm Tony, signing off. Thanks, Santoya. Thanks,
Thank you
Chloe.
all.
Thanks,
Thank
Brooklyn.
you all.
Thank you.